wanted to talk about, hydrogen. Again, hydrogen. And we've talked about heavy trucks. We've talked about trucking. But here are three companies, European companies, that are actually getting serious about it. Now, up till recently, if you wanted a passenger vehicle that ran a fuel cell and you were willing to live in California because it was pretty much the only place to get it, you could buy a Honda Clarity, you could buy a Toyota Mirai, or you could buy a Hyundai Tucson. All three of these vehicles had a fuel cell variant that you could buy and actually operate as a regular consumer. You didn't have to buy it as a fleet. You didn't have to buy it as a government. You could literally buy these vehicles. Problem is, because we didn't have an infrastructure that supported nationwide, those of us in the middle part of the country like you and me couldn't own one of these. One, because they don't sell them here, and two, we couldn't fuel them even if they did.
Yeah, there's been some real cold takes on the past in hydrogen, which I guess is probably with every new technology. But
haters out there?
There's been a lot of frenzies, even as back as 1974. But the second frenzy came in 2005 when the CEO of Ballard Power Systems, maker of fuel cells, said they'd be selling between 200,000 and 500,000 a year to auto manufacturers by 2010.
Ooh, does that sound like somebody else you know? Like maybe, I don't know, Elon Musk?
Wait, then 2009, multiple auto manufacturers signed a joint letter of intent that by 2014, they would be selling hundreds of thousands of hydrogen-powered cars. That also did not happen.
But wait a minute. Let me drop this on you. From 2000, I believe it was 2005 to 2007, BMW actually sold a car, I remembered it, that used hydrogen. And I'm using the word use because I need to explain myself. It did not have a fuel cell. It burned hydrogen or gasoline. A BMW 7 Series, they called it the BMW Hydrogen 7 Series, based on the 760 Li, which is their extended chassis. Because I remember that vehicle. And what I couldn't remember, I knew it used hydrogen, and I thought it was a fuel cell, but I stand corrected. When I did the research, it actually burned hydrogen in a modified engine that could burn either or. It could burn either gasoline or hydrogen, which is interesting because nobody today is talking about actually burning hydrogen. They're talking about creating hydrogen, using hydrogen in a fuel cell to create a chemical reaction to generate electricity. Interesting.
Yeah, because it sounds like there's just like a supply issue right now mostly, and it's very expensive. But like one of these guys who's really excited about it right now, he thinks these costs could plunge 85% by 2050. And meanwhile, no one's predicting gasoline will decline by 85%. Ever.
But do you think it's more of a distribution problem?
That's part of it too. They said they're talking about the wrestling with surprise in the face with modest demand because costs will begin to decrease considerably for hydrogen production, and not just the dirty gray production produced by fossil fuels or coal, but of non-polluting green hydrogen.
Yeah, remember we talked about that a few weeks back.
Yeah,
green, blue, turquoise hydrogen.
But I could think costs could dip below $1 per kilogram of hydrogen by then, 2050, compared to an average cost of $16.51 per kilogram in 2019. So it's expensive right now, it sounds. Mm-hmm.
But it's like anything. If you build it to scale and you build volume requiring billions of dollars of investment,
yes,
then you can get the price down. It's a chicken and the egg. I keep taking the listeners back to the turn of the last century. Cars were on the road, but there were no national system of gasoline stations. There were no gasoline pipelines, gasoline pumps, any of this stuff. And in fact, gasoline was actually a byproduct they threw away in the making of kerosene for lighting, which blew my mind. Now, the gasoline, what they call straight gasoline, then you couldn't burn in your car today because it doesn't have all the additives and balance and everything that you needed. But theoretically, you could burn it.
Yeah. You were talking about the Mirai there, right? That was one of the... So, like I said, the average cost of $16.51 per kilogram in 2019. The hydrogen-powered Toyota Mirai averages about 73 miles per kilogram. That's I just didn't even think about how that would work.
Okay. So, on the one hand, you get a lot out of it, but it costs a lot.
Yeah.
Basically, that's like $16. Well, a kilogram is... Because that's a different weight. It's not a liquid weight per se.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I don't have my conversion handy to figure.
See, we're not afraid to say I don't know, people.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's important.
But it's still pretty cool though. And I got to figure out what the Mirai tank holds in terms of total amount of hydrogen. That would be interesting. But in any case, in the case up till recently, it's been the Asian makes, Toyota, Honda, and Hyundai, that provided a vehicle that you could own that was a fuel cell that used hydrogen. Now, BMW, again, BMW, because BMW has been dabbling in this for years. Volvo, which, again, not surprising because they're forward thinkers with a lot of the things they do. And Daimler, which was the parent of Mercedes-Benz, are getting together and coming up with ways to do this, both not only in their trucks, because Daimler has Freightliner and some other heavy truck companies, but in their cars as well. And what's more important, they think there's enough of a future to put some real money behind it. The difference from all those pronouncements back in the day and now, technology.
Yeah.
The technology has finally gotten to a point where some of this stuff is actually doable, even if they don't have the solution at their fingertips.
Yeah, I didn't. Man, 90% of today's hydrogen is gray and made with electricity or fossil fuels. I'm guessing it's interesting with Volvo's being, but I'm assuming they're seeing that changing.
Well, consider that Volvo and BMW for sure have made major commitments to sustainability. We reported about BMW actually going all the way back into their supply chain to get rid of some of the dirtier parts of their supply chain, basically steel making, which is extremely emissions intensive. The only other industry that intense is making cement.
Did you know there are 30,000 hydrogen-powered forklifts in America?
I believe that.
And there's no 3 to 4 hour downtime as they recharge their batteries. But no pollution inside the warehouse, obviously.
Well, you need. It used to be propane before that.
Yeah.
It used to be propane before that, like in the 70s and 80s. So this is an evolution. So the basic technology is there. They just need to figure out how to scale it up. And like we've talked about, we've reported at length, it's a distribution problem, something that Nikola Trucks is, taking the bull by the horns. They're building out a network. And I have to believe that that network would also be designed to serve stuff like this.
Yeah. Then it's like we need as many electric gas stations as we can get. Mm-hmm. And then if these become a thing, we'll need some hydrogen gas stations.
Here's a fun fact. There is a bank of Tesla superchargers near my home. I'm always looking to see how many Teslas are parked there. Way more than you think.
Oh, I see them drive by quite a bit.
And in fact, one day, out of the 6 stalls, 5 were full. Now, what I wanted to do, and I didn't have the time to do, was to go up and interview them to find out how many were out of state.
Yeah. That's why I'm getting frustrated. They just built a new gas station 2 miles down the road from me. Big one. Big Casey's, big chain. Mm-hmm. No electric there. I mean, it's
none at all?
And none. Zero. And
wow.
I see Teslas on my street. I see them in because it is maybe considered not one of the more uppity areas, but I see Teslas quite a bit in my area. So I'm just like, again, not overwhelmingly so, but.
But do you think that the Teslas in your area are charging at home?
Which
means they're looking at who's going to need public charging. My supercharger network that I see every day is literally right next to several hotels and right next to an interstate. And I mean, literally, you could throw a rock from the interstate to that.
That's smart for them because if you're in that area and you got shops or anything nearby, hey, come over here.
It's a convenience store. Yeah. It's actually set up at a convenience store.
Hotels too, like they might be more likely to stay at those hotels since it's right there.
Yep. Although I will tell you that most of the time, the Teslas that I see, the drivers are with the car, which tells me that they're passing through.
Yeah.
That they're not staying. But still, the convenience store, you're going to go in because Tesla talked about building restaurants and stuff like this.
Yeah.
At one point a few years back for that very reason.
Yeah.
Imagine what happens when they get to a point where they can charge in, say, 15, 20 minutes.
And I don't mind. Like, whatever. I'll take my little break there. It's not.
But people are willing to do it. And that's the important thing.
Yeah.
People are willing to do this right now. And they're doing it with their Teslas. I can hardly wait to them making those compatible with everybody else.
Yeah, definitely.
In a fast charging environment. That is what I want to see.
Coming up, a review of the